In the land of Israel, the air was thick with tension. The kingdom was in turmoil after Saul's death. The people were longing for a leader to unite them. The heart of Israel beat with hope, but also fear. This is the setting of the book of 2 Samuel, where we witness the rise of David, a young shepherd turned king, chosen by God to rule his people. David was a man after God's own heart. He had faced giants and played music to soothe troubled souls. But his journey would not be easy. It would be filled with triumph, heartache, betrayal, and divine intervention. The story unfolds with a mixture of joy and sorrow, painting a portrait of God's faithfulness even amid human failures. After Saul's death, David sought the Lord. He inquired if he should go to Judah, his tribe. God responded, "Go up." David moved to Hebron, where he was anointed king over the tribe of Judah. This marked a new beginning. In this moment, David's faithfulness to seek God first set the tone for his reign. Yet, not all were united under David. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was made king over Israel by Abner, Saul's commander. Tensions rose between the two factions. A battle broke out at Gibeon. David's men clashed with those loyal to Ishbosheth. It was a ruthless fight, and although David's side gained victory, it came at a cost. The lesson here is that division can lead to destruction. When there is a lack of unity, even those who strive for good can find themselves in conflict. David, though a man of God, would soon learn how destructive ambition and rivalry can be. As time passed, Abner, seeing that Ishbosheth was weak, decided to switch his loyalty to David. He approached David, promising to bring the tribes of Israel together. David accepted Abner's proposal but demanded a sign of peace. Yet, Joab, David's commander, harbored revenge for his brother, who had died at Abner's hand. In a tragic turn, Joab killed Abner, shattering any hope for unity. From this, we learn the importance of reconciliation. Joab's actions taught David that personal vendettas can destroy community. We must strive for forgiveness, even when wronged. David mourned deeply for Abner. He knew the weight of loss. He composed a lament, speaking of Abner's valor. This act of grief endeared him to the people of Judah. They saw in David a compassionate leader, one who valued even the lives of those who had opposed him. But tragedy struck again. Ishbosheth was assassinated in his sleep by two of his own men. They brought his head to David, believing they would receive a reward. Instead, David was furious. He had never sought Ishbosheth's death. He had always longed for peace. He ordered the execution of the assassins, proclaiming, "As surely as the Lord lives, the one who delivered me from all my trouble." In this painful moment, David showed his commitment to righteousness. He understood the sacredness of life and the importance of justice. From this, we see that true leadership is marked not by power at any cost, but by integrity and the desire for peace. Soon after, David was anointed king over all of Israel. He made Jerusalem his capital, calling it the City of David. Here, he sought to unify the tribes and establish a stable kingdom. He brought the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, wanting to honor God in his reign. As the Ark was brought in, David danced with all his heart. He wore a simple linen garment, free and joyful in the presence of God. His joy was infectious, but it was met with scorn from Michal, his wife, Saul's daughter. She despised him for dancing like a commoner. David responded, "I will become even more undignified than this." In that moment, he taught us that true worship often defies societal expectations. It's not about appearances but about the heart's devotion to God. Yet, as David flourished, he also faced challenges. He had united the tribes and achieved military victories, but then he fell into sin with Bathsheba. While the armies were at war, David remained in Jerusalem. From his rooftop, he saw Bathsheba bathing. Consumed by desire, he summoned her, and she became pregnant. Instead of taking responsibility, David attempted to cover his sin by sending her husband, Uriah, back from battle. When Uriah refused to enjoy the comforts of home while his comrades fought, David resorted to a greater evil. He ordered Uriah to be placed at the front lines, where he was killed. This dark chapter in David's life teaches us the devastating effects of sin. Even a heart after God can stumble. The danger lies in trying to cover up our wrongdoing instead of confessing and repenting. God sent Nathan, the prophet, to confront David. Nathan told a story of a rich man who took a poor man's only lamb, stirring David's anger. When Nathan revealed that David was the man, David was devastated. He recognized his sin and repented deeply. From this, we learn about the power of conviction and repentance. True leaders acknowledge their failings and seek forgiveness. God's grace compels us to come back to Him, no matter how far we've strayed. However, repentance does not free us from the consequences of our actions. Nathan warned David that his household would face turmoil. Tragically, this prophecy unfolded. David's son Amnon fell in love with his half-sister Tamar. In his lust, he violated her. Tamar's brother Absalom was furious and took revenge, killing Amnon during a feast. This cycle of sin brought heartache to David's family. It serves as a solemn reminder that our actions have far-reaching consequences. Sin can spread like wildfire, igniting destruction in places we least expect. Absalom, seeking power, revolted against David. He gained followers and entered Jerusalem, forcing David to flee. In his exile, David experienced profound loss and sorrow. His heart was heavy, yet he wrote many psalms during this time, expressing his pain and his unwavering trust in God. Here, we see the importance of faith in trials. David's psalms remind us that God is always near, even in our darkest moments. We may feel abandoned, but His presence is steadfast. In the midst of turmoil, David faced Shimei, a man from Saul's lineage. Shimei hurled insults at David as he fled, cursing him and throwing stones. David's men were ready to retaliate, but David restrained them. He saw this as part of his suffering and chose humility over anger. This teaches us the power of humility. Sometimes, the best response to adversity is silence and grace. David understood that God was in control, even when it felt unjust. Eventually, the tides turned. Absalom's rebellion faltered, and David was restored as king. Upon returning to Jerusalem, he wept for Absalom, even though he had been his enemy. "O Absalom, my son," he cried. This profound grief shows the depth of a father's love. Despite their conflict, David mourned the loss of his son. This illustrates the heart of a parent who desires reconciliation, even in a broken relationship. Through David's journey in 2 Samuel, we see the complexity of leadership, love, and faith. David was not a perfect king. He stumbled and fell, yet he continually turned back to God. His life reflects the hope that no matter where we find ourselves, we can find redemption in the Lord. As we reflect on 2 Samuel, we are reminded of God's unwavering faithfulness. He works through our brokenness and leads us through our trials. In our own lives, we can learn to seek unity, practice forgiveness, and embrace the journey of repentance. We are called to worship God with joy, even when it feels undignified. Through the highs and lows, God remains steadfast. He cares for us in our victories and in our failures. Like David, we can find hope in His grace, knowing that our story is not over. God is writing each of our narratives, filled with lessons and love. So, whether you are in a season of triumph or facing trials, remember that God is with you. His faithfulness endures, encouraging us to rise after we fall. Let us trust in Him and walk in the light of His love.